To mark my promotion, my father presented me a disownment notice. From the entire family, my mother declared at the Eatery. My brother filmed my response for all his online fans. I simply nodded, grabbed the documents, and then left. They were oblivious to what I had already disposed. Can you imagine sitting down to a fancy family dinner, celebrating your big promotion, and instead of congratulations, you're handed a legal document? Not just any document, but one disowning you. Can you believe it? That was my family's idea of a celebration. And trust me, the shock of it barely scratches the surface of what I had been living through. My name's Bruce. I'm 31, and for most of my life, I've been the oldest son who learned early on. Being useful was more important than being seen. I'm a stockbroker, you know? Numbers, screens, a calm voice even when everything's falling apart. But in my family, none of that made me the golden child. That role was reserved for my younger brother, Dylan. He was born with this infectious smile, the kind that magically excused every mess he left behind. Me? I was the family insurance policy, the designated fixer, the one who understood money. Which, of course, meant I was basically an ATM, ready to be tapped if the right guilt trip was deployed. I grew up in a house where praise for Dylan was loud and constant, but any criticism for me was quiet, almost a whisper, yet it was always there. My dad loved to joke, Dylan's got heart. Bruce has spreadsheets. My mom would laugh, like it was the funniest thing, but it wasn't a joke. It was a rule. If Dylan wanted new cleats, he got the best. If I wanted a calculator for AP math, I got a lecture about not flaunting how bookish I was. I learned to just stay small, to plan, to breathe through those endless dinners where my brother's stories always got a standing ovation and my news, just a polite nod. By 27, I had my Series 7, this tiny apartment, and a habit of working through holidays because, well, the market doesn't care about family schedules. At 29, I moved to a better team, and at 30, I built a client base from scratch. Clients stayed because I answered their calls at 7 a.m. and again at midnight. My P&L? That was the only applause I really needed. But still, I'd go home. For birthdays, for Sunday roasts, for those long, slow afternoons where Dad would lecture about real men doing real work, and then, without missing a beat, ask me to move some money around for Dylan's latest brilliant idea. And I said yes, more often than I should have, because saying no, that turned into World War II in a kitchen that always smelled like lemon cleaner and resentment. Then, 2 months ago, it happened. I got officially promoted, Senior Vice President of Equities. Unofficially, I was the first person my boss called when the market tanked. I texted the family group chat, just out of habit. My mom replied with a cascade of confetti emojis, and so proud of you, honey. Dad, a simple about time. And Dylan? A thumbs up and a link to his new channel, where he was documenting the grind and dropping merch soon. The next thing I know, they're planning a dinner. Our treat, Mom said. Nice place. Suit required, Dad added. I should have known the script. I should have read the weather. But I put on my good Navy suit anyway. The restaurant was all white tablecloths and soft lighting, making everyone look a little more expensive. The waiter actually said, "Congratulations," as he poured water. My mom dabbed at her eyes. "My big boy," she cooed. Dad cleared his throat, like a speech was coming. Dylan, of course, angled his phone for a candid shot. I practiced that LinkedIn smile, you know? The one that screams grateful, humble, utterly exhausted. We hadn't even gotten the first course when Mom pulled this thick, cream-colored envelope from her purse. My name, in my father's familiar handwriting. From the whole family, she said, like it was a bouquet. Dad folded his hands. Dylan lifted his phone higher. I opened it. Disownment. It's a cold word, even colder when it's printed on legal letterhead. Inside, bullet points, conditions, a list of assets and assistance never rendered, phrased like I'd stolen air from their lungs. A paragraph about willing severance of familial ties, signed by both parents. And a notary stamp, tilted just like a bruise. Smile, Dylan whispered, camera up. It's for my followers. The Hard Truth series. For once, I didn't perform. I just nodded. I folded the papers, tucked them into my jacket, stood up, and placed my napkin neatly on the table. My mom's voice, shrill, followed me. Bruce, don't be dramatic. Dad's was flatter, colder. Just take it, Bruce. Dylan kept recording. A couple at the next table pretended not to watch. The waiter froze, a tray of bread held like a statue in a tragic play. I walked out. On the sidewalk, the air bit at my skin. But I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even surprised. The real surprise had hit me weeks earlier, in a quiet office at 8:12 p.m., with a call I'll never, ever forget. That was when I realized just how much of me they'd already spent. That was when I started making a very specific list of what really mattered, and what could finally be sold. And no, I'm not talking about stocks. The thing about being the responsible one is that people often mistake reliability for infinite capacity. When you don't flinch, they just pile more on. When you don't complain, they assume you're perfectly fine. That's how I ended up covering Dylan's overdraft at 22, his bridge loan at 24, his emergency rent at 26, and his one-time only business pivot at 28. The amounts started as hundreds, then quickly ballooned into 5 figures. No big deal to you, Bruce, Dad would say every single time. Family helps family. Just until he's on his feet, Mom would add, as if Dylan had ever stood without leaning on someone. I kept spreadsheets, because that's just who I am. Columns for dates, amounts, their stated reasons, and my own grim estimations of the actual reasons. I never added interest. I never asked for repayment. I kept the file hidden in a folder called Tax Documents, so I wouldn't have to explain it to anyone. At 30, Dylan went all in on content. Podcasts, vlogs, live streams about hustle culture, all recorded from Dad's leather chair. He called himself a founder. The only thing he founded, it seemed, was a gaping hole in the family budget. Views would spike, then plummet. One day, he asked me to sponsor an episode. Be a cool big bro, he texted. Win-win. I said no. Immediately, his texts started rolling in. Money makes you cruel. 2 minutes later, Mom called. Bruce, he's sensitive. Then Dad sent me a video of Dylan, bathed in ring light, whining. Bro, people just don't get it. The caption? People who invest in you are the only ones who matter. I muted notifications. I stared at my ceiling and thought about how dangerously easy it is to confuse attention with actual respect. Work, by comparison, was simple. The market is rude, yes, but at least it's honest. It punishes fairy tales and rewards discipline. My promotion to SVP wasn't because anyone liked me. It was because my calls were right more often than not, and I knew exactly when to cut a loss. My boss shook my hand and said, Dry eyes, Fisk. Now build. That night, my mom called at 10:41 p.m. Your father and I are so happy, she chirped. We knew you had it in you. Then a pause. A pregnant pause. I closed my eyes. It's just Dylan's car, she finally said, her voice dropping. The bank is being so unforgiving. If we could just move some things around. Mom, no, I cut her off. Silence. Then her voice turned buttery, sickeningly sweet. Don't let this position make you arrogant, Bruce. I'd heard versions of that line my entire life. It was a dog whistle. Translation, do what we want, and do it with a smile. I've been arrogant exactly 0 times, I told her. I've been a wallet. Wow, she said. To your own mother. An hour later, Dad called. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. Son, Dylan needs $18,400 to stop a repo. We'll pay you back, eventually. Don't be petty about family. Stop using that word. I snapped. Petty means I'm asking for something small. I'm asking for something big. For you to treat me like a person. Don't raise your voice, he boomed. I'm not. I yelled back, feeling my apartment shrink around me. I'm telling you, I can't do this anymore. Dad exhaled slowly. You think that title makes you a king? I hung up before I could say the thing I really wanted to say. That a king is allowed to say no, but a son in our family wasn't allowed to say anything at all. The next day, Dylan posted a story. Some people only help when it benefits them. He added a song about snakes. He tagged no one and everyone. Then came the second call. The one at 8:12 p.m. An unknown number. A pleasant voice belonging to a loan officer. Mr. Fisk, you're a listed reference on an application. We just need to verify a few details regarding your brother's income and your willingness to guarantee. I stared at my blinds. I didn't consent to be a guarantor. There's a signed document here with your name, sir. Send it, I said. She did. I printed it, spread it on my desk. My signature, expertly traced from somewhere. The numbers were ugly. It wasn't a car. It was a consolidation. Credit cards Dylan had always described as small, now rolled into a massive boulder of debt. He'd faked my permission. He'd used me, not just as a wallet, but as a shield. I took the stairs down to the street and walked. Walked until the cold cut through the buzzing noise in my head. People talk about betrayal like it's some dramatic, all caps, fireworks show. It's not. It's smaller than that. It's a simple math problem suddenly turning into a lie. It's realizing your own name is a tool other people think they own. I didn't call anyone that night. I made tea, but I didn't drink it. I opened that old spreadsheet. I added a new row, unauthorized guarantee attempt. Amount, $62,900. Reason, because he could. The next morning, I told my firm's legal department about the forged signature. Because ethics? That's a thing when your job is moving other people's money. Then I sent Dylan a text. Remove my name from anything. Now, he replied with a shrug emoji. Big bro, relax. I didn't relax. I got quiet. Quiet is where I do my best thinking. Meanwhile, the family campaign ramped up. Mom's messages turned syrupy. We miss you. Dads were moralizing. Don't abandon your blood. Dylan's? Cinematic. I'll pay you back when the brand pops off. You'll be sorry you doubted me. I muted all three. 3 days later, Mom announced the promotion dinner. A family celebration, she insisted. Make time. I tried to say I had work. She just repeated, make time. So when that envelope appeared at the restaurant, it wasn't random. It was pressure, dressed up as paperwork. They turned me into a plot twist for my brother's channel. A villain. A lesson about how money corrupts. I walked out with that letter in my jacket and a list in my head that was getting very, very short. I didn't sleep the night after the restaurant. Not from rage, but from absolute clarity. The next morning, I was at my desk by 6:50 a.m., screens lighting up one by one. My team drifted in. The floor hummed. I pressed the Disownment envelope flat on my desk and read every line again. The tone was legal, but the content? Childish. One section detailed property acquired during dependence. Another declared me emotionally negligent. It was theater with a notary stamp. At 9:03 a.m., Dylan's video went live, titled, When Success Splits a Family. He'd cut my exit from the restaurant into slow motion, layered a piano track. He even cried on cue. The comments rolled in. Bro, you didn't deserve that. He changed. Money makes people cold. I turned the volume down and did my job. Bought what needed buying. Sold what needed selling. Kept 3 anxious clients from doing something truly dumb. When the closing bell rang, I shut my laptop and picked up my phone. Mom, we shouldn't have surprised you with the letter. Come to Sunday dinner, we'll talk it out. Dad, being offended doesn't change facts. You owe Dylan. We can fix this on camera. That last one made me actually laugh out loud, right there in the conference room. On camera. Narrative control. I saw it so clearly then. They didn't want me back. They wanted footage. I texted no. Dylan sent back 12 messages in a row, escalating from pseudo-wise. Pride is expensive, bro. To outright threatening, don't cry later. I put my phone face down. I thought about being 16, fixing Dad's ancient spreadsheet while he told me how men provide. I thought about Mom's voice the day I got into college. Good, but don't start acting like you're better. I thought about Dylan at 19 saying, cover me this one time. We were 12 one times past that. Saturday came. I cleaned my apartment, took a long run, showered, and sat on the floor with a stack of files. Not investment files, the real kind. My birth certificate, old tax returns, that spreadsheet, printed out, stapled, with the Disownment letter on top. I added a yellow sticky note. You wanted legal? Okay. I drove to my parents' neighborhood Sunday afternoon. I didn't park in the driveway. I parked down the block and walked, hands in my pockets. The way you walk into a storm you've already decided to stand through. I rang the bell. I could hear chatter inside, then footsteps. Mom opened the door, her nice company smile dropping when she saw I was alone. No girlfriend? She said, like a joke. No entourage. Dad called from the kitchen. If you're here to apologize, be quick. We're eating. Dylan swung around the hallway corner, phone in hand, thumb poised. We go live in 5, he announced. No, I said. We don't. Mom spread her arms. This can be fixed with a conversation. Great, I said, holding up the envelope. Let's have one. We sat in the living room. The house smelled like roast and furniture polish. The mantel still held Dylan's high school award plaque, and none of my anything. That used to feel like a dare. Now it felt like proof. Mom motioned to the couch. We did what we did out of love. That letter isn't love, I told her. It's leverage. Dad leaned forward, elbows on knees, ready for a sermon. You have resources. Your brother needs support. You've forgotten where you came from. Dylan raised his phone. Let's start with accountability, Bruce. Say I. I put his phone down with 2 fingers. No cameras. Why are you afraid of the truth? He challenged. I'm not. I looked at each of them, one at a time. I'm done paying for lies. Dad's jaw clenched. We gave you everything. You gave me a roof and lessons on being small. I said, my voice steady, quiet. I gave you money. Here are the numbers. I slid the printed spreadsheet across the coffee table. Rows and rows. Dates. Amounts. Reasons. The golden child, illuminated by fluorescent debt. Mom didn't touch it. This is tacky. It's accurate. Dylan snorted. You keep receipts on your own family? That's extreme. You forged my signature? I asked him. The room went absolutely still. You could hear the clock tick. What? Mom asked, too fast. The consolidation loan, I said, setting down the printout from the bank. My signature on your form. It isn't mine. Legal at my firm has the original. They also have the statement from the restaurant, just in case you try to edit the story. Dad stood up, his face red. You watch your mouth. No, I said, and my voice surprised me with how even it was. This is me watching my boundary. I folded the disownment letter open and put it on top of the stack. You wanted to cut me off? Let's make it mutual. Mom's eyes went shiny with anger. Don't do this. It's already done, I said. I looked at Dylan. You can't use my name. Not for credit. Not for clout. Not for your narrative. Take down the video. He scoffed. Make me. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about closure. The sentence felt like a lock clicking into place. You want to know the real reason I walked out of that restaurant without shouting? Because the decision was older than that envelope. Because I already sold something you thought you owned. They stared. Dylan, bewildered, tried to guess. What? Your shares and decency. I stood. My obligation to fix you. I didn't slam the door. I didn't do anything dramatic. I left the same way I'd lived in that house, quietly, on my own 2 feet. By the time I got back to my apartment, my phone had mutated into a shrieking siren. 42 missed calls. 61 texts. A voice message from Mom that started with tears and ended with insults. 2 from Dad, both variations of "You're making this bigger than it is." 10 from Dylan, a highlight reel of manipulation. You ruined Sunday. You're jealous. I'm posting everything. Lawyer says you don't have a case. You'll be back. I put the phone in a drawer and made pasta, like a normal person. I ate standing up in my kitchen, listening to the radiator click. I slept the best I had in months. Monday morning, HR emailed me. Someone, a family member, had attempted to report me for insider trading. But the compliance team already knew, because I briefed them the week I found out about the forged signature. The report was dismissed in 11 minutes. If you want to understand how angry people behave when you stop feeding them, there's your case study. They try to set your house on fire with rumors, then act surprised when the sprinklers work. Dylan's video doubled in views, then tripled. The comments got uglier. I didn't read them. I blocked, and I went for a run. Halfway through mile 2, I realized I was smiling. Not because any of this was fun, but because I had finally done the thing my job trained me to do. Cut a loss early enough that it doesn't eat your future. 3 days later, a letter arrived, this time from my lawyer to theirs. It was short. It stated the forged signature had been reported. It said any future use of my name in financial instruments without consent would be pursued. It said the defamatory content in Dylan's video was being documented. It didn't roar. It didn't threaten. It was just calm. Which, if you're the kind of person who thinks noise equals power, is far, far worse. Mom texted, "How could you sick lawyers on your own mother?" I wrote back, I didn't. I defended myself. Dad called from a blocked number. You think money protects you? No, I said. Boundaries do. He hung up. Here's the part one didn't expect. The emptiness. The quiet where daily drama used to be. It felt like when the market closes and the screens go dark. At first, your hands keep twitching, waiting for another alert. Then your shoulders drop. Then you realize silence isn't nothing. It's space. I filled it with small things. New towels. A citrus plant that probably should have died under my care, but didn't. I started sitting in a cafe before work, not looking at a screen for 20 minutes. I called clients back at reasonable hours. I didn't apologize for not being a 24/7 machine. My boss just said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." On Friday, the firm announced my promotion publicly. LinkedIn did its thing. The likes, the well-deserved, the old acquaintances asking to pick my brain. Then came a DM from a name I hadn't seen since college, Claire. She'd dated Dylan for 2 years, pre-content. Her message was 3 lines. "He's been using your name to threaten vendors. My brother on Wall Street will ruin you. I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I wrote back, "Thank you. You don't owe me for his choices." Saturday morning, my doorman handed me a thick envelope. Same cream paper. No return address. Inside, a second letter from my parents' lawyer, bizarrely cheerful, withdrawing the disownment. After reflection, the family would like to rescind prior statements. It read like a press release written by people who learned empathy from TV. There were 2 handwritten notes tucked in. Moms, we were emotional. Come Sunday, I'll make lamb. Dads, enough theatrics. Shake hands and move on. I stared at the page and felt nothing but the steady clock of my own pulse. I put the letter with the first one in a clear folder labeled Family Documents and filed it next to my lease. Dylan's channel went quiet for a week. Then he posted a new video, accountability update. He didn't name me. He talked about toxic family structures and breaking cycles. He even turned off comments. He posted a photo of a new mic. He started a Patreon. He messaged me, "We cool?" "No," I wrote back. "We're done." He called immediately. "Don't do this. We can benefit each other." "How?" "You could come on my pod. Talk about finance. People love brothers. With different vibes." "Dylan," I said, and the sadness in my voice surprised even me. "You can't see me unless I'm useful." Silence. Then that small voice, the one he used when he was 8 and trying not to cry after Dad yelled. "So, never?" "I hope you figure yourself out," I told him. "But I'm not your ladder." Click. Weeks passed. The texts slowed. The calls dropped to 0. What stayed were the habits I was building without them. I cooked the same breakfast every day. I went to bed before midnight. I stopped proving I was useful to people who just used me. That freed up more time than I ever expected. In that extra time, I finally sold what needed selling. You thought it was my stocks? It wasn't. I kept those. What I sold was the narrative. Quietly, cleanly, to myself. I took the version of me that my family wrote, the one where I'm the resource, the background, the sure thing, and I cashed it out. I replaced it with a new line item, person. I put it in my internal portfolio, labeled non-negotiables. Around then, my Aunt Ruth called. The one relative who never asked for $1 and always brought actual, delicious food to holidays. "Haven't heard your voice," she said. "You okay?" "I'm lighter," I told her. "Good," she said. "Remember, a no is a full sentence." "Did Mom send you?" I asked. "I sent myself," she replied. "Also, please eat something besides eggs and coffee." We laughed. I hung up and cooked actual vegetables, because Aunt Ruth is the only person I'll take orders from. Not everything was neat, of course. A cousin DM'd me to say Dad had been complaining at a barbecue that I'd turned snobby. A neighbor told me Mom cried in the grocery store about how Bruce abandoned us in our time of need. I didn't chase those fires. I let people believe whatever made sense to them. I'd wasted too much time managing perceptions. It's exhausting work, pretending to be someone's villain so they can feel like a hero. On a Tuesday, I got an email from my firm's pro bono arm about a financial literacy workshop at a community center. I said yes. Saturday morning, I stood in a room with 20 people who genuinely wanted to understand budgets and credit reports. I drew boxes on a whiteboard. I said sentences I desperately needed to hear at 18. Your budget is your boundary. If they don't respect it, they don't respect you. Someone in the back raised a hand. What if they is your mom? Especially then, I said, and the room laughed. The kind of laugh that means we're all tired of the same thing. On my way out, a guy my age stopped me. You talk like someone who survived family drama. I did, I said. Any tips? Start small. Track the asks. Say one no. Tell yourself it's allowed to feel awful, and keep going. He nodded, like he'd been waiting for permission. I thought of Dylan, staring at a ring light. Of Dad, at the kitchen table, arms folded. Of Mom, holding a letter like a gift. It hit me how much of my life had been arranged around not making other people uncomfortable. I walked home in the thin winter sun, bought oranges on the corner, and didn't check my phone for 2 hours. The last message I got from my mother was short. Sunday dinner at 5. Your seat is always here. It used to be a hook. This time, it was just a sentence on a screen. I typed, "No, thank you." I didn't explain. Explanations are just invitations to argue. Dad never wrote again. Dylan posted a video about rebirth, then pivoted to reviewing gadgets. I stopped checking. People kept telling me updates, like it was news I needed. I didn't. My life moved forward in the small, quiet ways that truly matter. I lifted more than I scrolled. I saved for things I actually wanted. I started sleeping on clean sheets because I washed them on Thursdays, not just when I felt guilty. When I think about the restaurant now, the envelope, the camera, the entire performance, I don't feel the heat I felt that night. I feel the cool air on my face outside the door and a strange gratitude that they said the quiet part out loud. It made my decision honest. If there's a moral, it's not dramatic. It's boring, which is how you know it's true. Here it is. People who love you don't make you a ledger. People who love you don't require you to bleed to prove your loyalty. And if they do, you're allowed to close the account. My name is Bruce. I'm 31. I'm a stockbroker. I am no one's emergency exit. I don't owe anyone my ruin. I won't participate in my own extraction. I won't be filmed while I'm being drained. I'm not seeking revenge. I don't need apology speeches or tearful reunions over overcooked lamb. I needed closure, and I gave it to myself. I drew a line and stood firmly on my side of it. I won't let anyone spin me without consent again. I won't let them rename my no as cruelty. I won't let guilt dress up as love and move into my life rent-free. I'm building something quieter than a viral clip and infinitely sturdier than a notarized demand. It looks like a Tuesday where I go to work, come home, text Aunt Ruth a photo of the citrus tree, answer a client's question without panic, and fall asleep before midnight. It looks like a life that, for the very first time, truly belongs to me. This journey was long and messy, but finding that peace was worth every single step. Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family, or walk away from a relationship that was draining you dry? What was your moment of clarity? Tell me in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts and experiences.